Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pocket Perspectives podcast. I am your host, Tinisha Graham, as always, and welcome back. It's a happy new year, guys. I hope everyone had an amazing time over Christmas if you celebrate, or if not, just had a nice little break. It's been a good Christmas this year, but I'm very much looking forward to being back. And today is such a great episode, and I know I say that every single week, every single episode. I'm like, it's going to be amazing, guys. But honestly, this one is. Today we have Imran from Yorkshire Water. And if you didn't know, Yorkshire Water is actually a partner of IE Hub, and we work very closely all about water bill affordability and things like that. And obviously, we'll get into it into the podcast. But yeah, I think today's going to be such a great episode. I know we did have a previous episode with CCW, and we spoke about water bills, and that was more of a generalist episode. But today I thought it'd be really useful to hear from an actual water company, because when do we? I think, if you're anything like me, you just kind of pay your bill and you just forget about it and you move on. But I think it's really important. And, like, I'm giving you this money. Where is it going? What are you doing with it? What happens if I can't afford my bill anymore, And I think these are questions that I would love to know the answer to. And I hope that you do too. So I think this is going to be a really great episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you're able to kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at Yorkshire Water, and then people are probably aware of who Yorkshire Water are, but also a little bit about Yorkshire Water, if that's okay.
Absolutely fine. Yeah. So, like I said, it's fantastic to be here today to talk to your audience. And so, look, my name's Imran Patel. I'm the Group Customer Experience Director at Yorkshire Water. I'll tell you a little bit about Yorkshire Water first, and then I'll talk a little bit about my role, if that's okay, Tanisha. So, Yorkshire Water are one of 17 companies across the UK that provide water and wastewater services to the region. Obviously, we're in Yorkshire, so that covers the whole county of Yorkshire. And that means that we've got 2.3 million customers from a household perspective, and tens of thousands of businesses that we support by providing quality water through people's taps. And also we take care of all the wastewater that comes from people flushing toilets, etc., etc. We keep that in the pipes and manage to deal with that in a renewable, sustainable sort of way as well. So that's a very high level what Yorkshire Water do. My role as a customer experience director, I guess, is to look after all of the teams that provide support to our customers. So whether you've got an issue with flooding, whether you've got an issue with your water services, or whether you've got a billing issue, anything that's related to financial affordable means, you will be speaking to one of my teams. And our teams are absolutely fantastic. They are super passionate. They live in the county, in Bradford mostly, and they provide an amazing service along with all of our fantastic engineers that go into customers' homes every day and continue to work on improving the infrastructure and across the county as well, to be able to continue providing that quality water and keeping the sewage, I guess, in the pipes.
Yeah, of course. That's very interesting. And I did want to kind of preface this as well before we proper get into it, that obviously we're talking about Yorkshire Water, so it'll be very applicable to people who are customers of Yorkshire Water, but also I'm sure there'll be a lot of things that will be applicable to others as well. So if for anyone listening, if you're not a Yorkshire Water customer, don't feel free, you have to just turn off or anything. I'm sure it'll still be interesting too, yeah.
Yeah, and look, Tanisha, I think most things that we'll talk about, I think, will be applicable to anybody across the
Yeah,
UK, right? Because I think most waste and water companies operate in a similar sort of way.
yeah,
And, from an affordability and financial perspective, there's a huge amount of unity across each of these companies to make sure that we're applying the same sorts of process and policies to make sure that we're supporting those that need it the most.
yeah, of course, definitely. So I kind of wanted to kick off with, so as a customer, if I'm paying Yorkshire Water my bill, what am I paying for? Like, what is that monthly payment for?
So look, customers' bills, I guess, cover the cost of collecting, treating, and distributing water, quality water to people's homes, as well as making sure that we're keeping the wastewater that comes back in from the homes, we're keeping that in our pipes and away from the environment itself. So that means that maintaining that the level of infrastructure, I guess, that we've got out there, and making sure that we're continuing to also upgrade our pipes, our treatment sites and our reservoirs as well. So it's really important that we kind of provide that ongoing service to our customers, but also equally we're continuing to upgrade and maintain the infrastructure to make sure that with climate change, climate variability, with growth in population, we can keep up to speed with the demands that are there, I guess, on both water and waste. And then to your question about what you pay for, I guess, so that's what you pay for in essence. But we have a really tricky balance to maintain in making sure that we're continuing to invest in the infrastructure, but also making sure we don't put too much of a financial burden on our customers as well. And we know that cost of living at the moment generally across the UK is really tough at the moment. So we've got to find that balance between maintaining our network, improving our assets, and keeping those bills down. And looking at, I guess, at the next delivery period that we're going into, which is the next 5-year period, which we can talk about in terms of how the sector works to a degree. Part of our planned investment is also to increase our social tariff support as well. So those that who don't find the increases to the bills manageable, we're also making sure that we've got that support provided.
Yeah, definitely. And how do kind of bills fluctuate? Like what factors do influence like how much you're paying for your water bill?
Yeah, so look, every 5 years, every waste and water company across the UK will submit a plan, and they'll submit the plan to the regulator. And in this case, the regulator is Ofwat. And what Ofwat do is Ofwat will adjudicate those plans to understand levels of performance that are being delivered, the levels of investment that is being proposed by each company, and they will set based on a range of different complex parameters. They will set a threshold to say that this is the amount of money that you can charge customers. And our funding comes from two forms. Firstly, shareholders.
Mhm.
So investors will basically be pumping money into the business, and the second element is customers who obviously pay for their bills, and those bills goes towards that investment that we have in the network as well. So in essence, Ofwat are the organisation that are responsible for the financial regulation of the water industry and ultimately make that final decision on what changes that are being made to customers' bills. Now, it's very topical, that we're talking in January, I guess, at the moment, given the decision for the next 5-year period only came through just before Christmas.
Mhm.
And I think it's fair to say that any of our listeners will know that the water industry, I guess, has been in the press and has been in the media quite a bit, with lots of challenging conversations and debates and issues around impact to environment. And as a result of that, we've set out a £8.3 billion plan, which is the largest ever plan that I guess we've had, to really focus in on those environmental issues and to also make sure that we're providing the services that we need to over the coming years to our customers as well. And what we try to do through that mechanism is really try to keep those customer bills fair and affordable and spread the impact of those over the 5-year period.
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. I guess it can be really scary, like you said, with the cost of living and people's bills are just sometimes a bit unmanageable. And then you sit here in your water company in the news and you're thinking, oh, what's going to happen? So that's really nice that you're putting something in place to help. Definitely.
100%. And look, I think our intention is really clear that we want to help as many customers that need it. And no doubt we'll talk about the value of that, of the amount of money that we're putting in to be able to help customers.
Hmm.
And it's super important to me that if customers are worrying about their water bills on top of their energy bills, on top of other things, then they reach out, right? And they reach out and we have a conversation, because we are absolutely, our strategy is really clear. We want to create a thriving Yorkshire, because we know we're a big part of Yorkshire, but we
Hmm.
also want to make sure we do right for customers and right for the environment. And customers and environment are two significant pillars of ours in our strategy to make sure we're supporting, and affordability and the financial burden that our customers face are equally things that we care about, and we want to make sure we're there to support them.
Definitely. And like you said, it's really important that people reach out if they are struggling. But obviously, we do find that some people are scared to. Maybe that's embarrassment, shame, just don't feel comfortable speaking on their phone. Obviously, there's multiple reasons. So I guess that's kind of leads us into the Yorkshire Water and IE Hub partnership. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the partnership and how our companies work together to support customers.
Yeah, 100%. So look, I think the IE Hub for us is a digital platform that customers can use, obviously, to build their budgets, obviously by uploading information about their income, spending, potential debts, which will then be shared with us, and other companies as well if they're obviously happy, for that to happen as well. And once we've got that information, Tanisha, we can do our bit to make sure that customers can afford their bill payments and have the appropriate debt support if we get to that stage. And that might mean in some cases, lowering bills, or creating, manageable payment arrangements that can really help customers. Because ultimately our aim is, yes, we want to, make sure that the income that we need to bring in to be able to make the investments we need to do, both for our customers and the environment, is there. But equally, we want to make sure we can do that in whatever supportive way we can for our customers.
Of course. And I imagine IE Hub's not the only kind of partnership in that realm that Yorkshire Water that work with. So how important are these partnerships and what are the benefits for customers, would you say?
Yeah, look, I think it's for all the reasons you've mentioned there earlier, customers are different, right? So some people will reach out to us directly, other people will find that not something that they would do because of their situation or through embarrassment or through shame, etc. And the bottom line is, look, no matter what position someone's in, if you're struggling, we want to help. That's the
Yeah.
first thing I want to say. And I think to your earlier point, I think IE Hub is one relation. We've got over 25 to 30 different partnerships across the region, where we're working with, Age UK, where we're working with other partnerships, Citizens Advice Bureau is another one, where we're working with them to make sure that we can share the information about the support that's available. Because if customers can't get it off our website or can't get it by calling us, we want to make sure that that support is available, to the
Hmm.
extent where we're also thinking about running marketing campaigns to make sure that we can spread that information, whether it be on the back of buses, whether it be on the back of in train stations, or public places where people and you'll generally see more footfall. So those
Hmm.
partnerships are a huge opportunity for us to make sure that we can spread that news as far and wide across the region as we can. And again, to your listeners, it'll be the same in any other part of the country as well. Water and waste companies will be trying to get those messages out to make sure that we can maximize our reach. And it's also important that accessing support from us is simple and easy, right? With the IE Hub, customers just need to upload their financial information once, and we can use that to get support from a wide range of organizations. And we do work with other organizations to make sure that if someone's getting support from an energy perspective, then we want to make sure that we can offer that same support without the customer necessarily reaching us. If we can, if they've, from a data protection perspective, they've said that you can share the
Yeah.
information, then that means that we can proactively go and contact the customer to say that here's what we're going to do. And over the last 5 years, we've supported hundreds of thousands of customers, in order to try and really help them get through this period.
Yeah, I love that you've got so many partnerships. That's my personal favorite part of like IE Hub of having that kind of web and that network and have
Mm.
so many contacts because everyone's needs help, at some point, and having so many connections to be able to help people in other areas that your company may not be able to is amazing. So I
It's
absolutely love that.
it's an ecosystem, isn't it? I think it's an
Yeah.
ecosystem that recognizes that there is a need to help, right? And that help, if I'm honest, Tanisha, can sometimes be not financial, right? That help could be other services that we offer. So we offer, we have a priority services register where we've got over 200,000 customers who are registered on that register, and that means that they want additional support. So that could be
Hmm.
if they need services like Braille, if they need hearing or audio hearing services, if they need
Hmm.
bills in bigger font, Or it could be that actually when we do have water outages, then getting bottled water to them within 2 or 3 hours is super important because actually they don't
Yeah.
have access to to that sort of need. So we offer a real wide variety of needs, which certainly customers in Yorkshire and, to be fair, anywhere else in the country, if you go to your waste and water company website, you'll be able to get access to those needs as well. So it's not just
Hmm.
financial. There are a lot of other needs that people have, and we need to make sure that we're catering for them as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we can have this conversation and spread that, like you said, do marketing campaigns because a lot of people just don't realize that that's
You know,
out there unless they go
you know,
looking for it. So yeah,
100%.
I love that. I was wondering if you had any kind of stories or examples of how these partnerships help people, or just any customer stories in general, really.
Yeah, look, I think if we just use the IE Hub kind of partnership as just kind of one example,
Hmm.
if I think about, over the last, 6 to 9 months or so, we've helped over 400 customers save over £50,000.
Wow.
And our partnership more broadly, across the county has enabled us to provide more than £5 million worth of bill reductions to over 20,000 customers, which is kind of significant portion of our overall bill reduction that we have. But
Yeah.
as I said, we've got a range of tariffs that we have, from social tariffs to work that we do across the sector as well, whereby we will look at someone's income, we will look at someone's capacity to pay for their bill, we will look at a lot of our customers are also on universal benefits, etc. as well. So what can we do to make sure that they keep hold of more of those things and we can offset some of that. And one of the other things, Tanisha, we do is we also carry out a lot of surveying across the region as well. And again, very similar to what other companies will be doing, is
Mhm.
we will ask customers as well to say that if a customer was to be in a struggle, would you be willing to pay a bit more money for to be able to compensate, I guess, for a reduction that we could do somewhere else? And what we found was staggering, that we had over £20 worth of additional support that customers were willing to go to.
Wow.
And that really shows that, in our county and in our region, where people have got the broadest shoulders, where they can afford to pay a bit more, there's a genuine desire to be able to do that as well. And that's heartening, right? It's a real human, real humane behavior, whereby if someone else is struggling, I'm willing to step in a bit as well. So, we've got that, as well as, our shareholders who are also pumping in money for us to be able to create a real pot of money. And we want to make sure we want to spend every single penny of that, which is why these
Yeah.
partnerships are great, because we want to get that information and get that awareness out there, so that we can make sure that where that help is needed, we're there to help them.
Yeah, of course. That's so lovely that so many people were willing to help. Not a side, but a bit of a side note is we recently had flooding in my area, and the amount of people who like on Facebook groups and things like that just came together, like this community support
Yes.
just to help people,
Yeah.
just for the kindness of the heart. It just really
So
warms you, doesn't it?
it really does, and I think I think it's a British thing, to be fair, right? Where I think
Yeah.
the we all love a good crisis, right? Because in a crisis we all come together in a way that
Yeah.
everything, all of our divisions and stuff to put to one side, because actually we're there for each other, and I think that's the same mindset we need to have, because as you said earlier, some people sometimes will not be forthcoming with these sorts of things, and we've got to look out for each other, and we've got to make sure that that support message is out there so that we can reach out to everybody we can.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of support, would you be able to kind of go a little bit more in depth of what support schemes are out there from Yorkshire Water and like what's available for those who are struggling just to pay the
Yeah.
bills?
Yeah, look, I think everybody's different, right? I think that's super, super, super clear to us. And what we try and do, Tanisha, is apply a very individualistic approach, for want of a better phrase, to every single customer that comes through.
Yeah.
So some customers may want, changing their payment arrangements, or just want some payment breaks because they're going through a real short-term difficulty. So we can kind of provide those. We've got social tariffs, as I said earlier, which are kind of discounted plans for those on certain benefits, or certainly with low income. And those social tariffs are tending to be more longer term for those customers, and they're reviewed every so often to make sure that support is still needed.
Mhm.
We've got three debt support schemes. We've got a community trust. First one's community trust, next one's Water Direct, and we've also got Resolve. And Resolve is a program whereby we match customer payments so the debt can be paid a little quicker. So if you've got let's say £100 debt, if you contribute £10 towards that, we'll do the same as well. So we can pay it off a lot quicker. So again, we're kind of in it with our customers. We've got hardship grants as well for customers that are in debt, and we'll use that by understanding every single customer's individual circumstances. We're signposting organisations that help customers to maximise their disposable income levels, so that bills feel a lot more affordable. And then there's other things, for example, that are more close to our business. So water meters, for example. So more and more, if you think about the energy sector to a degree, a lot of customers are starting to move towards smart meters, which
Yeah.
is enabling customers to really understand the level of usage that they've got at any one given time, and to utilize that information in order to make better decisions, in terms of, sometimes you forget that electricity is being used or gas is being used.
Hmm.
And that's no different, I guess. We'll have almost 100,000 customers by the end of March that will have smart meters. And
Oh.
smart meters will give our customers a real opportunity to understand the volume and the volumetric of water that they're using, when they're using that water, and how can we make sure that we're utilizing that water in the best way possible.
Hmm.
So water metering and smart metering in an area in which we're investing heavily. By the end of 2030, we'll have circa 60% of our customers, hopefully, will have, so that's over 1.3 million of our 2.3 million customers will hopefully have smart metering in place. And as I said, smart metering is two things. One is, yes, it's about customers also understanding how they're using water, but there's also a huge opportunity for us to collectively reduce water demand, and water
Hmm.
consumption, because it is a scarcity, right? Sometimes, and you normally see that scarcity more in the summer, don't you, with when you have hosepipe bans and things like that, because actually, reservoir levels are running lower.
Hmm.
So I think we've got a collective responsibility to make sure that we're utilizing this really precious resource that we've got in water. We've got to use it well. So
Hmm.
we believe that meters make a big difference. One customer who was in receipt of universal credit was struggling with a water bill. Installing a water meter took a bill from £645 to £243. So it just
Wow.
shows that if you're not on a water meter bill, you'll be paying a specific amount based on the size of your house, based on the volume of people in the house, etc. But
Hmm.
actually, if you're then not consuming as much water, because you might be living in a four-bed semi or whatever, kids have all moved out, etc. Actually, having the water mill allows us to make sure we're only charging you for the water that you're actually using. And like I said, her monthly payments were more than halved, which was much more manageable, and that was a huge. And there's lots of those stories, Tanisha, that I could probably talk
Yeah.
about, that are there. And then finally, look, as I said, our priority services register is a real valuable tool for those that might find it beneficial to be able to have someone they trust manage their account. So again, we can have that as well, where if you're not in a position to discuss that and you want someone that is a trusted friend or family or whatever, then we can clearly do that as well. And again, we can talk through those types of services with them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And speaking of the water meters, that they sound great. Like I haven't got one, but after hearing you talk, I definitely want one. We've got an electricity meter, and we got a water filter and cooler over Christmas, and we turned it on, and then we saw the usage skyrocket. I was like,
Yeah.
turn that off right now. So I'd
I
love to have one.
I had the same with humidifiers, right? So dehumidifiers, I had to put a few in place, because just the moisture in the air and all that sort of stuff, and I saw that straight away. So I
Yeah.
sometimes go around the house just telling them, switch that off. You're not using it, switch it off, because actually we're burning energy.
Yeah.
And look, I think there's also the net carbon impact to the environment as well. And I think that's super
Gosh.
important. That again, that we're as a UK, we're coming together to be able to support those kind of net zero carbon needs as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I'll be applying for one after this, so I definitely will. So if someone is, I guess, struggling to pay and or facing financial difficulties, what would you recommend to them if they haven't reached out to a water company yet? Maybe they're a bit nervous, like we mentioned before. Maybe they're a bit like shy or they've got some shame. What would your advice be to them?
Look, I think what I'd say is that whether you reach out directly to your waste and water company, or whether you reach out to a third party support agency such as Citizen Advice Bureau,
Hmm.
or a Age UK type charity, or even IE Hub, right? Wherever you
Yeah.
reach out, it's important that you do reach out, because sometimes in life you feel like, you're at an ebb's end, there's no help anywhere that you can see, when actually there is, right? And sometimes being open about that and having a conversation, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to just talk to somebody, and we'll have a chance to actually go through your bill. We'll have a chance to go through your circumstances to be able to see what we can do, to
Yeah.
try and help. And in a lot of cases, we are able to help. And I think that's the biggest encouragement I can give to your listeners, is to say that
Hmm.
get in touch, because we can definitely help. And
Hmm.
and look, even if you don't want to get in touch because of all the reasons you've outlined, then just have a look at our website. We've got a huge amounts of information on our website, yorkshirewater.co.uk. And if you go on there, you'll be able to see, in the residential section, lots of opportunities where we've got a variety of schemes, and we'll also have a criteria across those schemes as well. So if you feel like you meet those criteria, then do reach out. And as I said, whether it's bill capping or debt support or installation of water meters, there's lots of information on the website which gives you some real friendly advice. And our people as well, right? Our people are amazing, right? I genuinely believe, and I will say this, right? Because I'm not from Yorkshire, I'm from Bolton, it's in the northwest. But Yorkshire people are the most friendliest people you will get, on
Yeah.
the salt of this earth, right? They're brilliant. They're really super passionate, and they really care about helping, right? And they will treat everything you say in confidence, and they will do whatever they can to help and support as well. So, if nothing happens, they'll bring a smile to your face, right? Put it that way, because they're great at telling jokes as well. So yeah, look, either reach out to us directly, or go onto our website, or any of your kind of water and waste company websites, and you'll be able to get lots more information there.
Yeah, I like that you've got your eligibility criteria online as well, because I think a lot of people think that maybe they're not like really really struggling financially, maybe they're going through a bit of a dip and they think, oh, I'm not going to reach out because that's the support's only there for people who like really 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 need it. So what would you say if someone who's like maybe just starting to like fall behind on like a bill or two and thinks, oh, this support's not for me? What would you say to them?
Look, I think we'll work with anybody, right? I think anybody that gets into a situation whereby they feel like, I'm starting to struggle. And I mentioned payment breaks earlier. I mentioned, monthly arrangements being changed. There's always an opportunity to try and find a solution that works, for a customer. I think the biggest thing is just reach out and talk to us.
Yeah.
And look, if there isn't one suitable, we'll look at another way. And we also know that there are people who are struggling out there who haven't reached out, that we need to be proactive in seeking them out as well. As we talked about the partnerships. We know in Bradford, in Leeds, in Sheffield, and in Hull, we've got the highest customer need for bill affordability support. To over 40% of all customers who might need it live in these areas. So we
Hmm.
know we're in a region where, water poverty, is there, or poverty in general is there. So, as a result of that, we've actively targeted households in the area for water meter installation, for example. And as a result, what we've seen, in essence, is, a lot of our partnerships, for example, that I mentioned earlier, are in with Leeds City Council, with Sheffield Housing, with Citizen Advice Bureau, in Bradford. So we've got a lot of opportunities to work, I guess, with external organisations to make sure that even if people don't want to come to us, then they've got means and avenues to be able to go to others as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's something to be said about like practical tips of like say water, because obviously you said about the water meters, but when I moved house, my water company sent me like a box full of like little gadgets that can help kind of reduce your water waste. So, is there any like kind of like tips or resources available for people like that?
Yeah, look, I think there's lots of tips. We normally send our tips out, with the annual, billing letter that goes out to our customers. But again, on our website, there's a lot of information about how customers can conserve water, reduce their demand, and save money along the same way as well. But in terms of practical tips, look, I think, the water meter suggestion I mentioned, I think is a really good one. You can reduce, you can understand the amount of water that's being used. You can also reduce your usage, and then you've got practical things like, only putting on the washing machine, when there's a full load. Using up a washing up bowl rather than, dishwasher. Only boiling the amount of water you need, when you're making a brew, so you're conserving some, kind of electricity,
Hmm.
at the same time as well. There's lots of those practical things that you can do, whereby sometimes, we do stuff in order to drive convenience.
Yeah.
If you're in a position where maybe you're starting to look at your bills and starting to struggle, then just maybe thinking twice, I guess, about doing some of those things, and making sure that you're only putting things on when you really need to. Um,
Yeah.
So, as I said, I think if people go to our website, then they'll get so much more information, lots more hints and tips that I've been able to give there.
Real amazing, thank you. Well, I'll obviously link it down below as well so people can easily
Brilliant.
click through. So obviously you've mentioned so many support schemes and things that Yorkshire Water is doing. Is there any plans for the future? Anything that you want to improve? Anything you can discuss now?
Yeah, look, I think one of the things I'd say is that we're always talking to our customers. So we have a kind of customer council that we operate, and we're talking to them every 6 to 8 weeks to understand how things are feeling like, how things are, what kind of top of mind issues, etc. And as you can imagine, bill affordability
Yeah.
is definitely one of the top two or three things that we always get.
Hmm.
So I think if I look forward now, I guess as of as of April 2025, we'll be increasing funding for our social tariff that I mentioned, where we can actually either reduce someone's bill or completely wipe it out, completely dependent on their circumstances. And what we're now looking at over the next 5 years is over 375 million pounds of reductions to customers' bills across that 5 year period, and
Well,
that compares to 115 million over the last 5 years. So it just shows the step up that we're making, and most water companies are doing something similar as well. So we've increased it by over 250 million pounds of additional support that we're providing. And then if you think about what that actually means is that some of our lowest income households will actually receive a bill reduction, this coming year. We're
hmm
aiming to support, 345,000 customers with their water bills, which is an increase from 245,000 over the last 5 years as well. So it's a huge step up because we know that actually we're making a huge investment into
Of
our
course.
network as well. But equally, we want to make sure that support is there. And there's an element of you also need to account for the period of time that you're in as well, and kind of acknowledge that some customers are struggling clearly with their bills. And as I
Hmm.
said, look, we recently announced the kind of our plans to install 1.3 million smart meters. This is now underway already in South Yorkshire. And as I said earlier, smart meters are a great way of understanding what you're using, allows you to keep an eye out on that usage and what it's costing you, and to also help us reduce that consumption as well.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. That's really exciting plans. So I'm looking forward to seeing all that. So before we go, I know we've mentioned about this whole podcast pretty much is applicable to people outside of Yorkshire as well. But do you have any general advice to people managing utility bills and seeking financial help, just kind of in general? And also, how important is it to kind of get support early rather than when it's not too late, but later on the line?
Yeah, look, I think it's always early. And look, some customers will manage their finances through budgets, where they'll be allocated money for energy, for water, for food, and other means. Others don't do that, and they live on a day to day, week to week, month to month basis. But my suggestion would always be kind of almost understand what you're likely to pay for your water bill or your energy bills, etc. And where you can try and obviously put that money towards those things. But to your point that you just raised there, I'd always reach out early, right? The
Yeah.
earlier the better. As soon as you kind of potentially are getting into that kind of slippery slope or getting into that position, then I would always reach out and to your provider, whether it be your energy provider, whether it be your water provider, to see what support they can offer. You will
Hmm.
genuinely be surprised, right? I think some people think that actually they're just in it for themselves. But as I said earlier, we'll be providing over 375 million pounds worth of support
Yeah.
over the course of the next 5 years. That's over 350,000 customers will get help with their water bill. So that clearly shows that the support is there,
Yeah.
but we just need customers to reach out to them. So, reach out to your provider, see what what help you can get. And if you prefer to go down another route, then and get independent advice, then the Consumer Council for Water and Citizens Advice can also share details and advice about how to tackle the problem as well.
Definitely. And it shows how people aren't alone. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm the only one struggling. And clearly, if
Yeah,
that support's out
no,
there, it's needed for people.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Emma. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss whilst we're here? Or do you think we've covered it all?
No, I think we've covered a wide-ranging set of topics, haven't we?
Yeah.
In that sense, and look, I think just to say that, look, I think we are. certainly for us in Yorkshire, we're a fabric of the community, right? We're
Yeah.
very much part of the community, and
Hmm.
we very much want to support as many customers as we can. And we think that support is twofold. One is we have an obligation to improve the services that we offer to our customers,
Yeah.
and that's super important in terms of offering quality water to our customers. So when they open their taps, then they've got quality water running through. It's it's a basic need
Yeah.
for us all. And then secondly, keeping sewage in the pipes, right? Because no doubt some of your listeners will be massively focused on the environment, and that's super important to us as well. So the 8.3 billion pound investment that we've now got to make over the next 5 years will really focus in on some big things that we'll be really targeting and focusing on improving our network, improving our infrastructure, building new overflows, building new pipes in order to make sure that we've got the capacity and the ability to deal with those things that are coming through. And then finally, as we've talked about through this podcast, that financial helps there as well. So my final plea
Yeah.
would just be, look, if you're in a position where you need help or support, then please reach out to us or any of your other providers for any of the utilities, because you'll be surprised at the level of help that's out there.
Amazing. Thank you. I love that. Well, thank you very much for joining. It's lovely to meet you.
And you,
Been one of my favorite podcasts. I've learned a lot myself. So I really appreciate it. And to anyone listening, I will link a lot of resources down below so you can quickly head over to the website. But thank you very much for listening, guys,
no
and
worries.
we'll see you soon. Bye,
Thank you,
guys.
Tanisha. Thank you.